In this video, we're going to discuss our biggest mistake in the first buy-to-let. We're going to go through the process and talk you through what worked well and what didn't work well, and share all of our learning with you guys.
Hi guys, if you're not familiar with us, we're Dan and Jim, and we're based in the northwest of England. And we're both property investors who are looking to achieve financial freedom, and we're going to document our journey along the way for you guys on YouTube.
So, how did we start in trying to find this buy-to-let? Well, we've been on a journey for probably 6 months where we've done multiple viewings. We tried to systemize how we were doing viewings. We used a piece of software called Notion. I think we must have viewed in excess of 30 or 40 houses. We made offers on a significant numbers of those, but weren't finding we were making traction.
So this was probably September 21 till February 22.
Yeah.
The market was still very, very hot. We'd view stuff, sort of go on the market, and then it'd go for 10 grand over asking. So very, very competitive market at that time.
In addition to a lot of cash buyers, I think we were in the rounds of stamp duty holidays. The COVID demand was coming to fruition. People were really thinking about their lifestyle choices in terms of wanting bigger space, office space, garden space, for some of the changes that came about because of COVID. So we've been going for a while. We'd had a few different gold mine areas that we were looking at, which I think in hindsight were the right gold mine areas on reflection. Broadly right for the strategy we wanted to do. We'd viewed a lot in the area where our first one that we got was in. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so there's probably 3 or 4 roads we've since refined, but we sort of were looking broadly at them anyway. And it was actually an area we originally grew up in, so we know the area pretty well. So yeah, there was sort of a couple of roads there we sort of were dead certain on. As I say, we viewed one a couple of roads down that was on for I think that was on for 100 and ended up going for like 115, which it just wasn't worth. But they were cash buyers from London who were just at that point just wanted to put the money into something, so we were never going to compete on that. So that's where we then come across this one. I think you viewed it there.
Yeah,
didn't you?
Liked it. Thought it had a lot of potential. In hindsight, it was probably not run down enough in some aspects for us to be able to add enough value, because it needed a rewire. We ended up having to do a lot of plaster work. We were going to decorate anyway, so to some extent cosmetically, because it needed a rewire, it didn't really matter what it looked like. It didn't look horrific. It wasn't great, but it didn't look horrific.
It was definitely livable.
It was livable.
It was definitely livable.
And I think in hindsight, if it had looked worse, the asking price would have been worse, and we could have added more value to it.
So I think this is something, since we've done our training, which we did a vlog about, which we'll link on the screen now. Since doing that, we've sort of realised that the 2 most important things are what you buy at and the GDV. And all GDV means is the done up value, so the value you can refinance at. And these 2 things are really crucial. And I think at that stage we probably didn't really understand the GDV very well. Hence the reason why now we believe we've overpaid for it.
Yeah.
Which is all part of the process, and we are going to do a separate video around how to back engineer deals, because now we understand the process of how much the property's on the market for is somewhat irrelevant to you as an investor. It's how much value you can add and how much money you're willing to leave in the deal to work for you are the important questions you need to ask yourself. So yeah, in hindsight, definitely overpaid for the deal. Moving on to the sort of refurb, there was probably aspects of it which we could have done maybe a bit cheaper and a bit quicker. Definitely a bit quicker, I think. Because we were there, we were doing a lot of stuff like stripping the wallpapers and painting and stuff, which I think the painting, if we'd have just outsourced that, we probably could have saved 2 weeks.
But in the grand scheme of things, the timescale for the refurb I don't think was horrific, given the scale of the refurb. I mean, in one of the other videos we talk through what we've done, and we take you through a walk around in the property, but we managed to, in summary, do a rewire, new boiler, up the EPC rating from a D to a C, new bathroom, complete repaint, some pointing work outside, painting work outside, recarpet. The rewire was probably the critical path there, and we managed to do that in about 12 weeks from the start of the refurb to the end. So whilst I think we could have gone quicker, it wasn't it didn't drag on for 6 months.
No. Yeah. So I think in terms of like a timeline, so the tenants are due to move in next month. They're currently just going through the last of the referencing. So we first viewed it end of Feb, and the tenants are going in start of September. So sort of a 6 month period. And there's a couple of things in hindsight we probably could have done a bit better and quicker. So particularly during the sort of period between making the offer and getting the keys, so the time where all the legal stuff gets done. I think the survey happened pretty quick. Don't think we could have expedited that anymore. I think there was a period where we had to get a personal guarantee for our mortgage, which was sort of new information to us. So for anyone who doesn't know, when you get a mortgage through a limited company, although it's the limited company getting the mortgage, you have to offer the mortgage company a personal guarantee. So we spent probably a week trying to search around for reasonable prices on that, because the prices on that can vary massively from anywhere from like 200 quid for an online one to like £1,000.
If you need something very, very quick, the expedite fees for that service go a lot. And I think speaking to a few people around the patch, prices significantly vary depending on location as well.
Yeah.
So we lost a little bit of time to that. But generally speaking, the legal aspect and obtaining the mortgage took between 8 and 9 weeks. So not horrendous, but again, something we really want to refine going forward.
Yeah. I think we probably moving forward, we're probably going to use a different conveyancing firm. I'm not sure they were the quickest. Which again, particularly in a changing market, you need, speed is everything. I'm not sure they get the investor angle. Yeah. I think they did a lot more residential stuff, which, don't get me wrong, you want it done residentially, but there's not it's not time critical like it is when you're doing an investment property. Because for us, the quicker you can get it, the quicker you can do the refurb, the quicker you can refinance before the market potentially changes.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely something we're going to start tapping into our wider network to find someone a bit quicker.
It's worth noting as well, it was a probate property, so there was no chain involved. Yeah. So it was almost, to some extent, relatively simple.
And the probate had been granted sort of in the early stages, hasn't it? Like the start of March. Yeah. It had been. So I do know from experience speaking to other people, if probate's not been granted, you're probably adding another 8 weeks onto this.
Yeah.
For that probate to sort of go through. So depending which stage it's up to in the probate process, it can massively extend. That would have been another 2 months onto it, so 8 months, which is not great.
Yeah. So that's the broad time frame of how things happened. Refurb we briefly touched on. We managed it ourselves. We could have been slicker in terms of some of the jobs we were asking trades to do. We should have gave them a complete spec of work at the start. There was a few bits of fine tuning we needed to do. Didn't add too much time into the process, but I think added costs. Going forward, we need to compress that and improve how quickly we're doing things.
So to summarise broadly, guys, I think we definitely paid too much for the property. But if this is going to be our worst deal throughout our whole investing career, then it's great. I mean, we spoke about the specific return on capital employed in the previous video, the ultimate guide to the numbers. So if you've not seen that, check that out. But I think moving forward, we're probably looking at a 16% return on capital employed. I think is the number we're probably going to look for moving forward. And in terms of money left in the deal, I think it's going to vary on the investor and how much they're happy to leave in the deal. But broadly, probably up to 10,000 at the moment in this market is probably going to be sort of an expectation to actually find deals.
Yeah, and the context of that for this deal, another summary item was, whilst the purchase price was high, the interest rate on the mortgage was low. It was 2.99 for our first limited company mortgage. So to some extent that helped the cash flow because the mortgage rate was low.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it, guys. There's some of our mistakes from our first buy to let. If you've got any mistakes or you're looking to get into buy to let and you're a bit apprehensive about something, drop some comments below and let us know what you're sort of thinking, and we'll get back to you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're trying to grow this. We're trying to give people as much value about what we're doing day to day in property. So if you think this is valuable, please subscribe, and as a little favour to us, if you could just share this with one of your friends who you think would find it valuable, that's a great way for us to naturally grow. So please do that, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.